Alright, first lab of the year, 2017. So what we're going to be working on is we are going to make the, the site work for your project all around the library on Temple University. To do that, we're going to start a new project. You click on New, and we're going to do an architectural template. Okay. While it's upgrading this, one thing to remember is the labs have 2017 on the computers, but there is Autodesk Revit 2018 out there. I would not recommend upgrading the 2018 because you will not be able to downgrade ever. It's just a rule of thumb in Revit. Once you upgrade, you can't go down, and you're trapped in the newer version. So if you have 2018 on your computer, I would install 2017 too, so you match the computer labs. So the first thing we're going to do is, here's your project browser, here's your view bar, here's your ribbon across the top. Those are the basic names for these different pieces. And these are your selection tools down here. We're going to go into the project browser, which has the tree of everything, and click on Site. So we go to your site plan. And what we're going to do now is we're going to insert the CAD work for this project. There's two ways to bring CAD in. Importing CAD drops the CAD into your file as its own block, basically, and it's in there forever. It's just stuck in there. You can delete the file off the server and it won't care. Link CAD means it links to the file, and if you move it, it's a problem for your Revit file. However, what it also means is if you update that CAD file, the next time you open Revit or if you reload it, it will update the link. So this is good if you're designing something and you're working on a plan in AutoCAD and you're updating it, it'll update in Revit. For the site work right now, I'm just going to do link CAD. I don't think I'm going to be updating it at all, but it's worth just doing that one for now. And I'm going to give you guys something on Blackboard. It's going to be Site 2017, and hit Open. Now it's loading the CAD in. Alright, so a few things. I know Bob's searched long and hard for topographic information. However, the only thing we can really find is an as-built around the bell tower. So really only one half of the building will have accurate topography. This is okay because as we add to the topography, or we can always adjust. If we get more information of the other sides of the building, we can always add more data points into the Topo Surface in Revit. So just to kind of get started, before we start making anything, one thing that's always good is to know exactly where Revit thinks your building is. So if we click on Manage up here, and we're going to come to the middle, it might not look like the way it looks on my laptop. Sometimes a bigger screen will have more space. We're going to click on Location. Every Revit project starts in Boston. That's where it was originally made. So they always put you in Boston. But for us, I'm just going to very generically type in Temple University, Pennsylvania. And you'll see this little red spot, a red pin, showing about where we should be. Now, if you really want to be picky, which why not, you can grab it and put it literally right on top of our building. And that gives the right latitude and longitude for our project. So this is going to do a lot more than just map it. What this does is it tells Revit exactly where this project is in relationship to the sun based on where it is on the planet. Typically, we would also have to set true north to be correct. However, since we have this AutoCAD file coming in and it's already at that 7 or 8 degree tilt that Philadelphia is, we don't have to set true north. This is true north. What we'll have to do is set project north, and that'll be important to do. So to do that, what we normally want to do is have our site plan on true north. So let's set this to be true north, hit apply. And then we'll go to level 1. I don't even know what height that is yet. But project north is normally how the building aligns orthogonally on a sheet. So what we would want to do is have project north be one of the lines of the existing building, so then you can build off of it. So to do that, now we're going to do a position. Yeah, lost that. We're going to do position, and we're going to rotate project north. And we'll do it on a selected line or plane. So we already have a line that we just want to hit. So do that, pick that line, and now you can see it squares off the building. So now it's nice and square. It would land on a sheet nicely. One thing we can also do while we're in here is just crop this view down. You can see it moves fairly slowly because this is a big file. We'll never need this much information in just the actual floor plan. So I'm going to turn on the crop view right here. It's that little button. And I'm going to click right next to it for show crop view. And turn that little light bulb on. I zoom way out. Find the edges of that. And we crop this down. Don't be afraid to make views because they just help you model better down the road. Alright, zoom in. And that's more like a real site plan that we would need for this project. Of course, we don't have anything modeled yet. We're just seeing the AutoCAD file we brought in. But it gives you a nice framework for starting off a proper floor plan for your building. So we'll jump back to site plan. And this one is still set on true north, which is fine. Site plans are normally show true north. Floor plans normally show project north. So now we're going to make our topography. What we have here is there is a point cloud in here. Let's come up. You could do two ways. You can click on the little house up here and make a 3D view, or you can go to your View tab, 3D View, and just click on the house there. And what that gives us is it gives us a 3D view so we can see what this AutoCAD file looks like. There is little 3D versions of the building. They're not terribly useful in Revit, but what is this point cloud that we were given from the project. These are actually have height to them. The height's not correct, but we'll fix that. But it's correct amongst itself between the points. So we'll go back to the site, and we're going to make some topography. So we're going to go to massing and site. We're going to go to the Topo Surface, and what you can do is you could place a point, and you could just put, say, the elevation of your points, or you can create from import. So I'm going to hit create from import and select import instance. Import means an AutoCAD file or some other readable type. Alright, so I just clicked on the only thing in here, which is the entire AutoCAD file. And now it's asking which layer we want to actually take the points from. We want to check none. And we want to scroll down. And there's a layer in this file called points, where they couldn't spell with vowels. And it's that one. So, points with no vowels. Hit OK. And what it's going to do is it's going to make each one of these points, you can see right here, it made each one of these points into a point on the REVIT Topo surface. I cheated a little bit, and I added 4 points on the corners, just so we square off a few blocks from the site. This topography out in this range is not going to be very accurate, but this stuff should be very accurate. And just so you can see what happened is the points layer is actually what makes this X in the AutoCAD file. And we don't really need 4 points for each one of them, but that's what it gives us because it takes the points off the end. However, all these points should be correct relative to each other. So hit OK. Now when we made a 3D view, we can click over here and go to that 3D view. And what I'm going to do is you can either type SD, or you could just come down here in your view controls and go to a shaded view. And you can see we made a lot of dirt. And there's a little bit of a change in topography in here. Now one thing is that the AutoCAD file was not terribly correct in its height that it gave us. So when I come zooming back in here, we should be at about 76 feet here. But if I come and do a spot elevation just to see where I am, it's saying we're at -4. Yeah, -4'9". So now, doing a little bit of math, I realize that I am about 80.96 feet low on where I should be. So this is the only time we're ever going to do this where we move a whole site, because after this we'll be able to define some datums and work off them. But I click on the cube so I can look at everything from the side. Select it all. It's pinned. The AutoCAD file comes in pinned. So that's what that little pin is. So what you can see, if I click on just the AutoCAD file, I can unpin that. So I'm going to select it all again. Come up to the ribbon around Modify. Use the Move tool. Click. And right away it wants to start moving up. What I'm going to do is type in 80.96. And then if you really want to get fancy, you do 33333. By default, REVIT does everything in feet. So if I just hit Enter, that moves at 80 feet. So now, when I come in here, and I want to check an elevation, I can do a spot elevation, and you can see we're now landing right where we should be, about 76 feet above sea level for these points. So we've got our topo surface built. And what this is it's an accurate shape of topography right in this area where we actually had points. You can see it starts to fall apart in here where we don't have points. So one thing you can do is you can kind of eyeball it based on what's happening out on the site. If you know, I'm going to go to wireframe just to see what this says. If you know around the building is generally 81 feet, 0.2, I'm going to switch back to shaded view. What we can do is we can add some points just to shape this a little bit better. So I'm going to go back to top on my 3D view. And I'm going to click on my topo surface, and it asks me, do you want to edit that? I'll say, yep, click on it. And I'm going to place some points, and it's going to add them into the complexity of this topo surface. I'm going to do 81.2 feet. I'm going to rattle a couple more off around the edge of the building, and you're going to see the topography change based on that. And you can see what it does is it slopes from a known point to the next known point, and it tries to make it as accurate as you can. So if you learn a new point over here, what that might be, it'll work with that. That's how you can change your topography. What you're also going to find is as you edit the topography, one thing you're going to want to do the most is delete all of these points. If you don't need all these points, you dump points. And you can, I'm just going to remove some here, and you can see it kind of levels out the topography as much as it can through there. But no, I'll hit undo and put those back. And you can see what it's doing. We have good accurate topography that's even showing the road passing through here by the way the topography lines that REVIT creates are going through. So once I'm done editing, I'm still just editing this topography. I can't click on anything else until I hit the green check mark and get out of here. And then I am going to look at it again from the site plan. And one thing we want to do is we want to add in some roads and some paths. And to do that, because our topography is now solid and it's high, it's above a lot of our AutoCAD file, we can't see down to the road. So what I'm going to do is switch the wireframe so I can actually see where my road comes through. Alright, and this is where it can get a little tedious. Making the subregions for the road and the paths and all of that can take a very long time. So I'm just going to start it off pretty simply. You go to Massing and Site, we'll do a subregion. And what you can do is we have a couple different ways we can draw things. You can click on lines with this green line tool, and what it'll do, I'm hoping this is the right one for the road because they seem to be similar ones right next to each other. And what you want to do is make these pink lines that kind of connect. So I'm going to not do this complex way. I'm going to scroll back up and just do a simple line, draw across. Delete that one because I don't need it. I must have made a few of them. Delete those. And what we'll do is we'll use the trim command right here, or type TR, and you click on the two sides you want to keep, and it trims it off. Alright, so this is coming through. I feel like this is 13th Street right here. And then it's sort of getting lost over here. Let's pull that line over. I don't know, these AutoCAD files don't mesh together very well. Alright, so what we want to do is close one of these pieces just so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to draw this out. And you'll at least see what I'm doing. And then we can always figure out later how to better do this. Now, REVIT, I actually wanted you to put it where I asked you to. Over there. And you go over there. Alright, so just for now, just drawing one road, hit the enter button, or hit the green check, sorry. And I'll go back to my 3D view. And you can see it's a different surface in there. And what that is now that's a different material. So what I'm going to do is click on my Topo Surface. Oops, missed it. And under the properties of that Topo Surface, I'm going to switch it to be grass. Alright, so I might have done that a little too quickly. When you click on any of these pieces, there's normally this little gray box with some 3 dots in it. It's not obvious, but that's where we're going to want to click to go to get to your materials. And in here, I don't believe there is grass. Let me see if there's any site materials. You can also search using this top bar. Nope. Alright, so we're going to make material. Click on Create New Material. It's called Default New Material. I'm just going to call it Grass. And now, the added confusion, we're going to click here to go to the Asset Library, which is built in and has a lot of different materials built into it. So I should... Typically there's a site. Let's see, under Appearance Library. You can also search for grass in here. Alright, and we only have like 8 different choices for grass. I'm going to say some bluegrass sounds fine. And I'm going to click this, and it pushes it over to our material over here. So it applies that asset to this material. It's taking my poor little laptop a second. There we go. And what that did was it made a material that matches grass here. Okay. So now you can see the road. Well, currently it's a dirt road, but it has a different material than the grass and the rest of the site. And again, if you want to go to your materials, you can go to Manage. There's another way to get there. You go to Manage and Materials, and what I'm going to do is, since the grass is showing as gray, we set its appearance so it looks like grass. But the graphics in a shaded view are a little different than the appearance in a rendered view. So what I'm going to do is tell it to use its rendered appearance and hit Apply. So at least then we get green to look at, green grass. I can do the same thing with this road. I can apply material to this too. So here, I'm going to create a new material. Right click on it. Come on, laptop, stick with me. Rename. And I'm going to do asphalt for this one. And then same thing. We have all that selected. I'm going to go to my asset browser. And again, I can't figure out Sidewalk. Let's see. Is it in there? Yep. All right. A few different types of asphalt. Asphalt number 2 sounds complex enough. So click over. This one's actually an image map that it uses. You can see by clicking on here, it shows you the image map that it uses. Use that. Same thing in graphics. I'm going to say use render appearance. Okay. So now I have an asphalt road, and the rest of everything is grass. So what we could do is we can always add on to this road and make it bigger. So going back to site, what we might want to do is complete across some of the cross streets. And what you want to do is add on to the one you already have. If you're making a street, if we're making a sidewalk, we might want to make our own ones. So if I come over here and hover over this, if it doesn't offer it up to you, like it doesn't turn blue, you can always hit Tab until you get to it. But I'm going to click on this, hit Edit Boundary, and again that activates as being pink. And then I can just trace out the roads basically. Do that. It doesn't want to do the corners. Since it doesn't want to do the corners, what I could just do is use this arch command here. Make that. Escape, break that. Come over here. That arch. I'll remove this piece since we're now adding on to this. And then I'll go back to my pick lines command. Pick that line. Pick that line. Alright, one thing you don't want to do is leave little gaps like this. So I'm going to use my trim command. I typed it in, but what it is just this trim command. So let's see if I have to use it across the street. I'll show you how to do it again. Do the arch. The arc command. And then, without typing it, I'll hit trim and trim those off. And then I'll scroll up, just do a plain line, cut across the street here. There we go. I can always add that street on later. But for now, we're just trying to add some more streets into this model. It's very time consuming adding the streets because you have to trace everything out. And I didn't do all of that for you. That one actually lets me click on the polyline. So just bear with it, because the one thing about doing this is it takes a while, but the good thing is, by making these subregions, if you ever go back and change the topography for whatever reason down the road, the subregion just rides on the top of the topography. So what it will do is adjust with whatever changes you make to your topography, which is very handy. So you draw this. Basically, what you're doing is you're drawing where the streets are in plan only, and then you can adjust your topography all you want, and the streets, the sidewalks, anything else that you create as a subregion will ride along with it. I'm not being perfect here because I'm not sure how perfect you're going to have to be with your site model about 1.5 blocks away from your project. That's really up to you. Alright, so I'm going to close off the ends of this. What I can actually do is come across, type TR for trim, and trim these off. And then what I want to do is come down here. I'm going to do pick line commands. And I'm just going to trim these corners off for now, just so we can move on to the next step while making this other street down here. Trim command there. Pick line command there. Trim. Delete that line. Let's just do the same thing across the street. And I know I'm going a little fast with some of the stuff, but you're going to be doing this for so long, tracing these streets and sidewalks, that you'll have plenty of time to figure it out on your own exactly how to use these tools. And the nice thing is, this idea of drawing with by just going into a sketch mode like this, where you have the check mark and red X. That you're going to use that a lot. You'll see that we'll use that for making floors, roofs. We'll use it for a lot of different things, editing profiles. Let's see if it does it without an error. Alright, so good. We got an error. So what happens is, if I don't have completely closed lines throughout this whole piece, then it will say it can't finish. So here I click, and it says lines must be in closed loops. See how it's highlighting right there? If you can't see where it's highlighting, you can click show, and it should take you there. And I'm going to zoom in and see what's happening right there. No, well, we got pretty close. Yeah, we missed. Trim command, which is right here. And green check mark. See, well, we got it. Alright, fair enough. So I will jump back to my 3D, see what it looks like. Alright, we're starting to get some roads on our topography. What you're also seeing is in the AutoCAD file, there is actual contour lines too, along with the points. I don't know what these are for. Don't get me wrong, I know what contour lines are for, but these contour lines seemingly line up with nothing. I looked at the point cloud that was in here, and these contour lines, and then some known contour lines down by Morgan Hall, and I can't make sense of what these are. They don't align with any of the point cloud. They don't align with any of the actual survey work we did on Morgan Hall down here. They don't align with anything, so I don't know if they're in there just for giggles or what, but they also aren't labeled, so I don't know what elevations they're actually supposed to be at or what their interval is. So while they're in there and they look nice, they're not very helpful yet until we can get more information about it. So with that, what I'll probably try and do is look at this walkway. Now, I don't know the perfect extent of where all these sidewalks are, but what I could do is go up to the site, and what I'll probably do is create a second subregion for this. There's a lot of stuff. One thing you can do, see how busy this gets? If you click on the actual AutoCAD file, you can come into Query and click on some of these spot elevations, and it'll tell you, hey, it's this level, this is the name of the level, and all that stuff, and you can actually just tell it to hide it in view. And that simplifies things a lot. We've already used these points to create our topography. They don't need to be cluttering up our view right now, so I'm going to click on the actual points. That's our points with no vowels. Hide in view. And you can see right away we're a lot nicer. Much nicer. So with that, I'm going to try and make a little bit of the walkway here. So starting over here, this is our region. I'm going to make a new subregion. Hover over, click on the topography so it knows which one we want. And here we go. And again, this can all be edited for shape later as you see fit. So I don't know this topography or this site that well, so I am probably making it the wrong shape. That's okay. I'm just using my pick line commands and marching around here. So a few things that worked out. This needs to be trimmed. And what you can do here, let me see if I get this right, is a few other commands. I can trim this like this, and then I can actually use the extend line commands. Extend to this line, and it shoots across. And then I can use my split command, cut that line, and then trim and trim, just to make it consistent all the way through. And I'll take this right to the other street. Take this right in here. And hopefully none of my regions are crossing each other. Oop, show me it. Yep, show me where it is. Oh, think about it, computer. There it is. What it's doing is it's showing me that I'm not quite meeting. Yep, missed. Let's back up again. Do that again. Show me. Subregions cannot intersect. So that means I'm hitting one of my streets. So what I'm probably going to do just for now is drag this guy off a little bit. Is it that subregion? No, I might have been hitting both of them. So I'm going to actually tab once. You're still saying I'm hitting it, huh? Oh, perhaps that subregion goes to there. Let me see. Oops. Now I'm just misclicking everything. Alright, try again. There we go. Alright. Oh, I see. So that this line is throwing me off. These AutoCAD files don't quite line up very well. So I can actually type SD on this view and see what I get. What we probably want to start to do is call out some of this as Sidewalk, since that's really what it is. And to do that, I will click on it. I will tab until I get just that subregion. And we're going to do the same thing that we've done before. New material, create new material. Sidewalk. And open the asset library. Appearance library, concrete will do. Okay, let's see what Sidewalk has. Let's see. Aggregate. Is there anything for sidewalk? Nope, we'll just have to do concrete. Typically this poured concrete. Alright, we'll just do square panels. Call it a day. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to my 3D view just to see what I have. There we go. Alright, so you can see how you can start to build up your site work. You can also see that even though I hid these layers in my plan view, in my site plan view, these CAD layers are back in this one. That's because whenever you do something in change a view in one view, like in a plan, you can hide something. Doesn't mean you're hiding it everywhere. It just means you're hiding in that one view. Alright, next part. Let's focus on our building. And the first thing we need to do with that is we need to look at levels, making levels for this building. So to do that, I'm actually going to go to my north. We have a level 1 and a level 2, but that doesn't mean anything yet. So right now level 1 is at 10. What I would do is rename level 1 datum. That's because we don't want to move everything. Yes, we do want to rename all those. And I'm probably just going to delete level 2 right now. Yes, delete that. Alright, because what we want to do is we want to draw a level at the right height for our building, which happens to be roughly 81.33. That's where the main first floor is. So, I'm just gonna did that too fast. Sorry. Click on this. Go to copy. And I'm just gonna drag up that level. That's one way to make it. I'll show you how to make other ones. And then I am gonna type in 81.33. Hit enter. Looks like it vanished, but it actually just went up to where it's supposed to be. And we will call this one, just what they called on the structural plans, the first floor. And then what I also do is second floor is 106.666. Do this again. Copy. .6666666 and rename that. Whoops. Undo. Click right on the letters and make that second floor. And we'll make some of the lower level floors. We will make the ground floor is 67.666. Oops, doing that wrong. Click on this, copy, go down. I'm sorry, was it 67? 67.66. Alright. And according to the structural drawings, this is technically called the ground floor. You know, it's below grade from where the bell tower is. Now, you don't need to make a whole lot of levels, but they do help. So, main level reference at the low point, so that's main roof. Third floor is 120.33. Let's make these. Third floor, 120.333. Alright. penthouse floor is 135.67. 135.67. What was that one called? Penthouse floor. Alright, so that kind of gets us going. I probably want to make the roof for the penthouse at 153 even. Alright. And there we go. Now you'll see I don't have floor plans for all these levels. So what I'm going to do about that is I'm going to make them. You just go to View, Plan Views, Floor Plan, and what it's going to do is it's going to show me all the views that I don't have, all the levels I don't have floor plans for. So I'm going to probably want one for each one of these. Alright, so now I have a lot more floor plans. Now the first thing I'm going to do is order them. Ground floor is pretty much the lowest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the first floor 0, 0. So first floor, and I'm doing this only to organize in my project browser here. I don't want to rename my actual levels. So you'll see what I do. I do 0 for first floor, and I say no to renaming everything else. And then ground floor will actually be -1. Yep, because it's 1 below. And okay, we're already starting to get tedious, but just so you can see me work it through, this is 1 level up from the first floor. Or you can do 2 at this point. Hold on, let me just do that as 2. I just know that there's other levels below the, there's other levels below the ground floor. But if you have a second floor and a third floor, you should start with a 2 and a 3. That's a no. Nope. Alright, so now these are more or less in order. So if I go to my first floor plan, what we want to do is crop this down. Turn on crop, turn on everything, snip it down to just what we need. Actually need to turn on crop, it's not cropping. There we go. Alright, so one thing that should happen at this point is we need to make a building pad for the existing building. And to do that, see how our topography is basically going over the building and how it's covering up our floor plan from the CAD file. What we're going to want to do is make a building pad, and what a building pad is it cuts a hole in the ground at a specific level, and that's where your building goes basically. So if your building goes below grade, the building pad will go below grade up to the height of the building pad. So what I'll probably do is actually go down to the ground floor and put the building pad in, just to cut a deep hole. I do need to crop all these views need to be cropped down, of course, so that we're not showing the entire temple campus for each floor plan. But this is just how you get going with the REVIT file. Crop. Alright. So you can see what it's doing if you go in is there's a hatch put over everything. That's because technically this is below the topo surface. So what might sometimes be easier to draw it in a wireframe for a little while, and then we can go back to hidden line. But what we're going to do is we're going to make a building pad, and that's under massing and site, and it's named building pad. And you see we go back into our little sketch mode that we have. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to trace around the building, right along all the walls, on the outside of the walls, except at the front door, just so grade comes down to the front door. Kind of cutting the corners through solid pieces of wall because it doesn't really matter. The wall will still be there. It's more about getting the hole cut where walls are passing through. Yeah, understood. This building certainly has a lot of ins and outs. Keep going, keep going. And we're back to the beginning. Alright, so I'm going to hit finish, and it's going to cut a hole in the ground. And I'm going to pull this out back into the hidden line. But if I hit tab, control tab, it flips between my open views. I'm going to control tab until I get to my 3D view. Or, whatever, take it too long. I'm just going to go. There we go. So you can see what it did, is it cut a hole in the site down to our ground floor level. We might have lower levels. If that's the case, we can actually lower the building pad. You can select the building pad like this and tell it which level to be on, or you can even offset it. If you wanted to say, hey, I want you to be -10 from where you're currently at, you can do that too. Alright. So there we go. The other thing we could start doing is we could start extruding some of these other existing buildings, just so you can start to get some more site work in there. I'm actually just going to save this. The problem is, I don't have elevations of where some of these buildings are on the site, which is troublesome. But I can still start to roughly model them. So what I'm actually going to do now is I might make a new 3D view. If I just duplicate the view, duplicate with detailing, it just makes another 3D view exactly like the one I already had. And I am probably going to try and isolate my AutoCAD file. I'm going to do two things. Before I isolate it, I'm going to, for one, a very powerful feature in the 3D view is the section box. And you turn that on, and you can focus on something. You can just start, you're basically cropping everything in 3D. And so as you walk around modeling things, you can model different buildings around the site, one at a time. Because what I want to try and do is model this building real quick, just with a little mass. So now with that, I'm going to click on the actual AutoCAD file, and I am going to click on the sunglasses and say isolate the element. Alright, so now I can see what I'm dealing with, and then I am going to try and make an in-place mass. Yes, turn that on. Yes, do all that stuff. Do model lines. I'm going to switch my placement plane to be the first floor, because I think that's a little bit closer to what we're dealing with. Go to top. And what it's making me do is it's going to make me trace the existing building, because it's not letting me use the pick line command. You'll find that REVIT sometimes doesn't play nice with other software, even when that other piece of software is called AutoCAD, which is also owned by Autodesk. You'd think that they would work a little bit better together, but maybe AutoCAD's a little mad. So what I'm doing is hitting tab until I can get to the rough corners of this building. So just so you know, the X is an intersection. It's just it does work. That does work similar to AutoCAD. The X is an intersection. The square is an endpoint. When it shows there's an endpoint. And I am just trying to trace this. I am skipping a lot of this just to try and get this done. But obviously you would be much more precise than me. Alright, I got all the way around. Good enough. Look at this from the side. And what you then do is you click on the entire assembly like that, and you could say create form in solid form, and it'll loft it up. And it's not the most precise thing in the world, but if I show it in shaded render, oh, sorry, go down here, look at it in shaded. Oh, that's right, I can't look at it shaded because I don't have the sight on. But then I have this mass that should roughly stick out of the ground the same amount as it is tall in the AutoCAD file. But again, I don't know the heights of these surrounding buildings very well. So I will turn off the temporary hidden space, and notice that I need to move this up a bit to get it above grade. And again, it's not the most precise thing in the world, but I am just tabbing up with my up-down buttons. And I have a building next to us. There is very specific ways to bring in other geometry. If you have these modeled in another piece of software, you can bring them into Revit, but you would want to bring them in as a family. There's another video in this YouTube channel that shows exactly how to bring in stuff from Rhino or anything like that. If you just bring in the geometry the way we did it in AutoCAD here, see how I can't click on any of these surfaces. I can't make new walls off of them. So that's something else that you can do. But that is probably all we're going to get through this week. There's always a nice healthy list of things to do. But if we can get to it, we can do the solar study at the end of class. If not, we will do it next week. Solar study would be better if we start modeling things anyway that cast shadows. Right now, none of this is going to really cast a shadow yet. So until then, we can do the solar study. They're pretty easy to do in Revit, and they are pretty telling on what you should do with your building by seeing how the sun works. But this is the basics of what we're getting to right now. We've got a site, we got some streets, we're starting to make sidewalks, we have a building pad, and we have an adjacent building, a building mass. So when you work on that for longer, you build it up more, and we will have something for you to start working off of.